Hello, my name is Papa Bear, and this is my YouTube channel. Welcome. This is normally the space where I do my life after life interviews with people who have been through adversity and have overcome things and have a tale to tell. Today, however, I want to do something different. Recently, I recorded an interview with my ecstatic life coach, Kaelan Strouse. And afterwards, some of you who watched it asked me for more information about sitting with negative emotion. And so tonight, what I'd like to do is give you that information in the form of a guided meditation. And in that meditation, I'll walk you through the technique, at least as I understand it. And hopefully that'll give you a sense of how to perform it. So let's begin. I'd like you to settle into where you're sitting. Maybe that's a chair, or you're sitting on a bed, or perhaps you're sitting on the floor. Allow yourself to settle. Allow your mind to settle. Allow your thoughts to become quiet. And I'd like you to turn your attention to the breath. Follow the sensations and follow the air as they come in and go out, in and out. As you do this, you may notice that your mind begins to wander. If that's the case, gently direct it back to the breath. I'm recording this on a Sunday evening, and Monday morning is looming large. And so I may begin to worry about what lies ahead in my workday. If you are doing that too, then gently bring your attention back to the breath. In and out, in and out. You may find that your mind wanders and you regret the happenings of the day, things you said or didn't say, things you did or didn't do. And if that's the case, gently guide your awareness back to the breath. In and out, in and out. Next, I'm going to ask you a question. And that question is a simple one. How do you feel? How do you feel in your body? What physical sensations are you feeling? And so I'm going to ask you to scan your body, starting with the head and working downwards. I'll ask you to focus your attention on the body part by part. And as you do, imagine that you're writing in some sort of mental notebook and make a note of the sensations that you feel. Maybe you feel tension or stress, or maybe even pain. And if you do, don't try to change it. Don't worry about it. Instead, just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Notice where exactly it is and notice specifically what it's like for you. How might you, if you had to write a sentence to describe it in that mental notebook, how might you do so? Let's begin the body scan, focusing first on the head and the neck. Allow your awareness to go to those places in your body, to the head, to the neck, and become aware of what you feel there. Is there any stress, any strain, tension, any pain? And if there is, don't resist it, don't push against it. Simply allow it to be. Notice what it's like. Where exactly is it? And what specifically does it feel like? And take a deep breath in and out, in and out. And drop your awareness now a little further down to the shoulders and the upper back. Notice what you feel there. In the trapezius muscle, the traps, is there any strain, any tension? They're notorious for carrying strain, aren't they? And so notice whether there's pain or strain, stress, tension. Don't attempt to change. Don't worry about it. Just allow it to be and note all of the details about it. Allow your attention to drop further down to the lower back, to the hips, maybe even to where the sitting bones come in contact with the floor or the chair, whatever you're sitting on. Allow yourself to become aware of those sensations. And then again, to notice the negative sensations, the pain, the strain. Note them in detail in that notebook of yours and maybe even comment, say, isn't that interesting? Drop your awareness further down now into your legs, your thighs, your knees, your lower legs, feet, and even your toes. And give your toes a wiggle so that you know your awareness is there. And carefully take note of whatever sensations you're experiencing. You know the drill by now. Just allow those sensations to be. Don't push against them. Don't try to change them. Just give them space in which to dwell. Deep breath in and deep breath out. And deep breath in and deep breath out. I'm going to ask you my question again. How do you feel? But this time, how do you feel emotionally? Imagine that your feelings are a sort of landscape. As you look out over the landscape, what is it that you notice? I mentioned that as I record this, it's Sunday night. And so thinking about Monday morning, is there a sort of sadness? So I want you to notice what your feelings are. Notice the strong feelings you might be having, or even the strong negative ones, like sadness. If you find that the feeling is associated with a memory, for example, maybe a memory of last Monday morning and all the things that went wrong, don't relive that memory. Simply stick with the sadness and notice, in the same way we notice the feelings in the body, notice what this feeling is like. Does it produce a bodily sensation? Is it anywhere in your belly or your chest or anywhere else that you can notice? How might you describe it in that mental notebook of yours? What might you write down about its particulars? I want you to observe it dispassionately. And what does that mean? To be a dispassionate observer means that we feel the feeling, but that we don't get caught up in it. One useful metaphor is to think about the clothes in a front-loading washing machine. You know the kind, it has a sort of a porthole for a window. And when the machine is running, you can see the clothes going around and around with the soap and with the water. You are not inside the washing machine, you're outside. And so you're experiencing the emotion, but you're at no risk of drowning in the water. You're outside, a couple of steps away, looking in. Observe the emotions, like the clothes in the washer. Don't resist. In other words, allow yourself to feel, but don't get caught up in them either. And remember that you're on the outside looking in. Allow yourself to be curious. If the emotion leads to a thought, then say to yourself, isn't that interesting? If you're feeling sadness about a Monday morning and you suddenly have a thought, I'm I'm so unworthy and ashamed, for example. Don't follow that thought, don't pursue the train of thought. Instead, sit there with the thought and the feeling, experiencing the feeling all the while, and say to yourself, and maybe even make a note in that mental notebook, isn't it interesting that I was feeling this and then immediately it led to that thought? Take an interest in the experience. You may even want to get curious by engaging your feelings in a sort of dialogue and ask them questions. Things like, what have you come to tell me today? What do you want me to know? And what am I to learn from this? And to help you imagine what that dialogue might be, I'm going to tell you a short story. Some time ago, I went to the gym, and after After an intense workout, I was in the locker room getting changed and getting ready to go home. It was the end of a busy week, and to be honest, I'd lost track of the date. And so, as I was finishing getting dressed, I was suddenly gripped by a very strong wave of emotion, negative emotion at that. I was sad, and I began to cry right there in the locker room in front of the other men who were changing. And it wasn't just a tear trickling down my cheek, it was great big audible sobs. It was something very powerful. And so I finished getting dressed. I walked outside and found myself a quiet spot to sit. And I sat and closed my eyes and went inwards, and I got curious. What I was feeling was awful. It was a sort of anxiety mixed with sadness, and I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. It was tight, like I was going to throw up. I could feel it in my chest too. It was also very tight and was hard to breathe. And so I just allowed those sensations to be and made a note of them, allowed the feeling to be and made a note of it. And then I opened the dialogue with the feeling and I said, "What have you come to tell me?" And as soon as I asked that question, in my mind's ear, I heard a voice as clear as a bell and it said, "Don't forget him." With that, I looked at my phone, saw the date, and I understood. 2 years prior, on that date, my son had killed himself. He took his own life. And while I wasn't consciously aware of the date because I'd been working hard, subconsciously I was aware of it. My body, my feelings reminded me of it by saying, "Don't forget him." And so I decided to engage my feelings in that dialogue again, and I answered them back. I said, "Don't you worry. I could never forget him. He's an indelible part of who I am. Every breath that I take, every action that I carry out in this world, and every interaction that I have with another human being, I do so as the person that his love made me. Loving him made me who I am. And so I could never forget him because I honor him by being me." And with that, the tears stopped. The feelings in the body, the emotions abated, and I began to feel better. I picked myself up and walked home. And with that, I would say you have an example of how the technique can be used to deal with the emotion and in time to feel better. And so this brings us to the end of our meditation. And it's time now to wiggle your fingers and your toes and allow your eyes to flicker open and become aware of the world around you. I hope that some of this video has resonated with you. And the next time that you find yourself in the grips of strong negative emotion, I hope that you'll have a technique, a strategy to use so that you can feel better. And with that, I'll end tonight's video, tonight's session. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you the next time.